see a little silhouette of a kind. Mountain Dew, time to do the slam dunk go. Citrus taste and quenching, very, very exciting.
Hello all, this video is going to be slightly different. Originally this was going to go in a different direction, and at this point you would think I'd have learned my lesson. I have not. This video is focusing more on one particular aspect of what living in poverty is like, more so than any particular TV show or movie. The idea was sparked from the Season 1 Futurama episode Fry in the Slurm Factory. Watching this episode always makes me think of Mountain Dew, even though it's a play on Willy Wonka's chocolate factory. With the help of my assistant, the bunny of data science Mothra, this series looks at different aspects of poverty in the US, usually analyzing how it's shown in the media. If you would like to know more and support this effort, like, subscribe, ring the bell, and visit Patreon for more info. I will be posting the full list of videos that I'm working on since it keeps growing. According to a 2013 study from PubMed, the top reasons participants quit smoking were an existing health condition, avoiding future health issues, or pregnancy or childbirth. That means for nearly 80% of participants, their motivation to successfully quit was not due to economic cost. In fact, only 3% quit because of cost. In the United States, the quote, sin tax on items, such as alcohol and cigarettes, has gradually and continually gone up. While this might have slightly reduced alcohol consumption, it doesn't seem to have an effect on cigarettes. The Knowable magazine article is linked below. You might be thinking, why are we discussing cigarettes if the title is about soft drinks? To start, most agree that cigarettes are addictive, and it's clear from the study that raising a tax doesn't motivate people to quit. But how does this tie into soft drinks, I hear you cry? If we look at the 2019 article, Why Soda Can Be Addictive as Drugs, it points out that the caffeine and dopamine kick are major factors. If a higher tax isn't motivating people to quit smoking, why do we think a tax on soft drinks is going to encourage people to stop drinking in an effort to lower obesity rates? For those unaware, one intention behind an increase in tax on certain items and subtly affecting price is to encourage people to change their habits. It's also seen as a way to fund things such as schools and infrastructure. However, a tax like this doesn't seem to be an effective solution to encourage smokers to quit, and my theory is that people who decide to lower their soft drink intake will similarly do so for non-economic reasons. According to the National Center for Biotechnology Information, the Centers for Disease Control, and the American Diabetes Association, obesity and poverty are highly connected. To clarify what is meant by sugary beverage, according to the CDC, sugar-sweetened beverages is defined as regular soda, fruit drinks, sport drinks, energy drinks, sweetened waters, and coffee and tea with added sugars. As far as obesity, the studies do take into account some factors such as access to healthy food. There are also plenty of studies showing the effect of sugary drinks on our health, but not much on why someone chooses a soft drink over water to begin with, outside of the addictive factor. Going back to the CDC, between 2011 and 2014, 63% of kids and 49% of adults had at least one sugary beverage a day. Though if it is broken down by category, it is higher for boys, adolescents, non-Hispanic Black youth, and youth and families with low incomes. If we account for geographical location, the Northeast and Southern states have the largest consumption, such as Mississippi, Louisiana, and West Virginia. In addition, the 2019 map from the Behavioral Risk Factor Surveillance Systems, or BRFIS, has these states highlighted in red for obesity prevalence. One question that should be posed is access to water. Unless you've experienced this or had issues with plumbing, this might seem to be a non-existent issue in the United States. Aside from houses off the grid or those way out away from society, people in the US have access to running water, right? In many counties, there can be several reasons a water source is affected, such as an invasive plant infiltration, brain-eating amoebas, runoff, machinery or filtration malfunction, or some other contamination. The brain-eating amoeba one is totally real, by the way, and happened in Texas September 2020. When these sorts of things happen, an advisory is issued based on the severity. There are 3 categories. The most common is boil water advisory. Something in the water will make you and your pet sick, so residents should boil water or drink bottled water. Even if it's filtered, it should be boiled. Water from appliances like fridges shouldn't be used for drinking. Also, if formula is used for infant feeding, it's advised to keep ready-to-use formula or to breastfeed. Water can be used for cleaning and flushing toilets. Keep in mind, boiling water requires using more electricity or gas, depending on how the home is set up. If a household has been struggling to pay the electric bill for 3 months and it's currently turned off, how are they going to boil a water if they can't afford to buy bottled water? A rural area might allow for a fire to be built outside to do so, and this is time consuming, and also assuming there isn't an active burn advisory and there is fuel to do so. I imagine someone in an apartment is out of luck since most places frown on fires being made inside the unit. The next level up is do not drink water advisory. In this case, boiling the water will not help and residents need to be cautious about washing hands or flushing the toilet. And finally, the most extreme is do not use water advisory. Any contact with skin, lungs, or eyes can be dangerous. No bathing, no washing, no cleaning. People that live off well systems or independent sources have a whole different set of things to consider, but for simplicity, we'll focus on municipal water sources. In my county, it is rural and there is a lot of farmland. It's also a poor county and there isn't a lot of funds to keep the municipal water system up to date as much as it should be. Sometimes it feels like we're constantly under a boil advisory and my family keeps a stock of bottled water in the house. Think about that. Your family scrimps and saves because there was a plumbing issue that needed to be taken care of. It finally gets fixed, only now you can't even use that water to drink without putting in time and effort, and you have to go out and buy bottled water. Not to mention, the higher levels of advisories can be last minute. For issues with vehicles, I'll link the video for that here, and yes, I'm still working on the video for public transportation. I should also point out that living in a house with pets means it's difficult to record without a lot of noise. So the cat has decided to take a nap right next to my computer, so if you hear purring, that's what that is. This isn't even taking into account regional issues. High temperature states such as Florida might have a snake get into the plumbing and up through the toilet. Those who live in low temperatures such as Montana, Minnesota, or North Dakota need to keep faucets dripping to prevent pipes from bursting, which also drives up the water bill. Some states have limitations on water usage due to drought, like Arizona or California. If the water in the house needs to be reserved for cooking or bathing, that means buying bottled water. In 2014, Flint, Michigan tried to save money by changing the drinking water supply. The contaminated water had lead and affected many within the community. This area did have issues with water even before this, though. In this article from 2018, quote, "For more than a century, the Flint River, which flows through the heart of the town, has served as an unofficial waste disposal site for treated and untreated refuse from the many local industries that have sprouted along its shores, from carriage to car factories to meat packing plants and lumber and paper mills. The waterway has also received raw sewage from the city's waste treatment plant, agricultural and urban runoff, and toxics from leaching landfills. Not surprisingly, the Flint River is rumored to have caught fire twice. There was also an outbreak of Legionnaire's disease and increase of cancer-causing total trihalomethanase. I'm just going to leave this here because I have no idea how to pronounce that. According to the U.S. Census Bureau, the average income from 2015 to 2019 in Flint was $28,834 a year and was comprised of 54.1% Black or African American residents. The article outlines how the community had to push for their water source to be fixed and pipes replaced. The situation garnered attention across the board and brought to light how poorer and non-white communities are harmed by slow reaction. But how many Americans don't have access to water in the U.S., period? According to the U.S. Water Alliance, quote, "More than 2 million Americans live without running water and basic indoor plumbing, and many more without sanitation," end quote. It's probably no surprise that those most affected are tribal communities and rural areas. If we look at the map, We see West Virginia and Mississippi as states that are affected, and if you recall from earlier, these are also states that happen to have high obesity rates and higher consumption of sugary beverages. In addition, access to water doesn't always mean it's usable. As discussed through the different advisories and the situation in Flint, there are 44 million people that live in water systems that had safe drinking violations. That's roughly 13% of the United States. The U.S. Water Alliance also points out that race and poverty are the two biggest factors. Quote, communities that were historically unable to develop water infrastructure, the decline in funding makes it harder to catch up with the rest of the country, end quote. So if a soft drink tax is put into place, how is the issue of access to water going to be addressed? Let's look at cost. If there is a coupon or sale on soft drinks and it's cheaper than water, a family is more inclined to purchase that. This is especially true for new flavors. In order to entice consumers to try it, there may be buy one get one free or a huge discount. If a case of bottled water is $2 more than a case of Mountain Dew and the family is counting pennies, saving that money is going to matter more than the sugar in that drink. There's also another piece to consider. For some people, paying for bottled water seems silly if they are lucky enough to have it at home, so it makes sense to purchase a soft drink to, quote, get their money's worth. Buying bottled water can feel like you're paying for water twice, once with utilities and second with buying the bottles. Many restaurants and fast food places allow you to drink water for free, but not all. For example, many fast food places won't provide a cup of water anymore if you ask, and now require you to pay for a bottle of water. States are trying to encourage a soft drink tax in order to make it more expensive than water, but if we call from the study at the beginning of this video, making it more expensive is not going to break an addictive habit. Even if it is more expensive, it would probably have to be a significant amount, and at the end of the day, it isn't addressing the root cause of the issue. The reason I went down this rabbit hole initially is the uniqueness of Mountain Dew. During undergrad, when it was finals, dining services went through far more of this because those who didn't drink coffee would get their caffeine and energy from Mountain Dew instead. Sometimes they would purchase an energy drink, but those were usually more expensive and were smaller than the 20-ounce bottles. Mountain Dew and similar citrus beverages are the worst sugary drinks health-wise and break down teeth faster. The South has higher rates of obesity and sugary drink consumption, and that leads into issues with dental health. The state with the highest consumption of Mountain Dew, by the way, by cases purchased, is Kentucky. Let's look at why some connect Mountain Dew with manual labor jobs. Growing up, I would often see construction workers and laborers with a bottle of Mountain Dew. If we look back at the CDC study mentioned earlier, males tend to consume more sugary drinks than females. Jobs that have a physically heavy workload of at least 30% are associated with manual labor like building and construction. If we consider gender as a factor, men make up the larger portion of laborers, operatives, production, and craft. Considering the work environment, it's unlikely there's a water fountain nearby, so access to an ample supply of water may not be on the work site. Many who work in these types of jobs often work through lunch, and this type of beverage can provide that pick-me-up in the middle of the day to get through work. This type of habit also makes it easier to fuel that addiction. If there is not a water fountain, there might be a gas station nearby or a vending machine.
You bastard! Don't do this, Scully. You have to be strong for her right now.
What's going on?
Unit's being replaced.
Come on! That machine's been here forever. It's basically part of the Force. Take Scully instead.
Yes, please. Take me to the land of vending machines.
Can we at least have 5 minutes to say a proper goodbye?
Whatever.
Goodbye, beautiful machine. You can take her away now. Well, I think we handled that with dignity. Free candy!
What's more tempting if you're buying something on your break and you need quick energy? Energy drinks are another high-acid, often high-sugar beverage, so even though it's not a soft drink necessarily, it's certainly not healthy. With that information, it paints a fuller picture. If there is a head of household working in construction and consumes, let's say 1 energy drink or soda a day. A 20-ounce Mountain Dew has 46 grams of sugar, and a Red Bull has 37 grams in a 12-ounce can. Over time, this does damage to your health, and it also creates a dependency on that drink to get through the day. Add to that the associated health risks and higher medical expenses if they live in an area with lack of access to a dentist or don't have coverage. I'm going to put this in another video because of how much information there is to sift through, but dental health in areas with high rates of obesity certainly fall in the category of needs improvement. Dentures can be thousands of dollars, and if you're younger and need them due to diet, you might be declined coverage because insurance might decide to classify it as something that was your fault. This might seem far-fetched, but I have worked with people that needed dentures before they were 30. When they had issues with a tooth, it would cost about $50 to pull it out versus a few hundred or so to fix it. Over time, all of their teeth ended up being pulled, and they needed dentures by the age of 26. Because dental health is a particularly dense topic, it will have its own dedicated video to be able to give this the attention that it deserves. For now, I will move on. The last topic I'll touch on is marketing. For those who grew up in poor areas, how many commercials for soft drinks were there in comparison to water? The soft drinks usually look cool or might have an athlete. There was a short-lived beverage called Surge when I was younger that was arguably worse than Mountain Dew. It has a bit of a cult following, as many failed beverages do. The commercials were fast-paced and made to grab your attention. Remember that information from earlier that boys, adolescents, and poor youth consume more sugary beverages? These types of commercials can appeal to that demographic. Taco Bell, for instance, has Mountain Dew products and a particular target market, 18 to 34, who want something late at night. According to Marketing 91, quote, "Children and youth from middle and upper class are the main targets of Taco Bell since their inception. They target the younger men, especially who go out to eat minimum 12 times a month," end quote. This could certainly contribute to the results the CDC came up with. In the Digiday article linked below, it seems that in general, different soda companies have been spending less on advertising for their sugary drinks and more on sparkling water or juice. Yet, Mountain Dew still held 34% of spending. Keep in mind, this data is also during the pandemic. Huffington Post in their article points out that, quote, "Just 20% of Mountain Dew drinkers are responsible for 70% of the volume," end quote. And they often skew toward young and male and more towards the Midwest. While that is the money spent on advertising, when it comes to actual purchasing, overall, Americans drink more bottled water than soda. In an article from Business Insider, quote, "For the first time ever, Americans drank more bottled water than soda in 2016, end quote. This is mostly credited to a cultural shift in how we view sugar in our diets. This article also explains that, quote, "In a 2008 study, the Environmental Working Group found 38 pollutants in 10 brands of bottled water," end quote. The focus of the article was more that Americans view bottled water as healthier than tap water. But as we've seen in this research, access to drinkable water is more complex. If there is a boil water advisory, then yes, bottled water is arguably better than tap water. It's another facet to explore. Are more people buying bottled water because of access to tap water, as well as changing attitudes towards sugary beverages? This video isn't to pick on one particular brand or company. It's to dig deeper into the issue of sugary drink consumption and why I don't think a soft drink tax will bring the desired results. In a previous job, I was involved in the process of developing questions for surveys and research. Part of what I learned is that if we want to understand the root cause of why things occur, we need to ask the right questions. Instead of just asking how many sugary beverages were consumed on a weekly basis, we need to probe further. Do Americans consume more during work hours? Do we consume more because we're stressed or tired? Do we consume more because we'll get a migraine if we stop drinking it? Do we consume more because we won't be able to eat lunch that day and we need the calories? Look, I enjoy my Dr. Pepper. It's one of those little things that makes me happy, and yes, I might have a can here and there. Life is about balance. I struggled to be able to finally live in a house that has consistent access to clean running water, and I don't take for granted that I no longer have to boil it or buy bottled water. For once, I don't live in fear of pipes breaking and being unable to fix them for a month. If you want to help efforts with access to water, I'll link a few below. Dig Deep at digdeep.org has information on the Navajo Water Project, Appalachia Water Project, Close the Water Gap, and Clean Water for St. Michael's. Each of these projects addresses a different area within the United States. Water.org works around the world to help people gain access to safe water and sanitation. If you have a source that you would like to share or have more information, comment below. Thank you so much for making it to the end. Like, subscribe, ring the bell, and visit Patreon to see the list of topics. Until next time.